Alright, so let's do another example in section 8.2 using our hypothesis testing procedure. Suppose a poll of 250 randomly selected voters in a city found that 140 of them favored increased funding for public libraries. Based on this poll, could we conclude that the majority of voters in the city, more than 50%, favored increased funding for public libraries? Use a significance level of 1%, 0.01. Alright, so we're going to start with our list. Our capital N is our population. So that is going to be all voters in the city. Right. Our lowercase n is our sample size. There were 250 voters sampled. Our P naught, what we're testing, what we're looking at is, can we conclude them in a majority? So we're looking at the 50%, so 0.50. Our P hat is from our sample, which is 140 out of 250, which works out to be 56%. Our level of significance, we're told that alpha equals 0.01. What do we want to know? Is the population proportion the majority? Right. The majority being greater than 50%. Alright, so state our hypotheses. Our null hypothesis always has an equal sign, and we're using our 50%, 0.50. Our alternative hypothesis, right, is it the majority? That's our greater than 0.50. Right, again, we're going to skip our conditions. Again, if you are checking conditions, make sure you use your P naught as you're doing that. Then we're going to go to StatCrunch, and we're going to enter our number of observations, which is 250, our number of successes, which is the 140. We're going to make sure that we select hypothesis test, make sure we put all the information that is needed in there, and then we select compute, and then we are given a couple of values here. So we are given that z equals 1.90, and we are given a p-value of 0.0289. Now we're going to compare this 0.0289 to our significance level of 1%. This is greater. So our p-value is greater than alpha. And if we go back to that part of the notes that I said to highlight, if our p-value is greater than alpha, remember that tells us that we are going to not reject our null hypothesis. Right. So we don't reject our null hypothesis. Right. So for our interpretation, we cannot conclude that the majority of voters supported an increase in library funding. Right, we crossed off our alternative hypothesis that said that there would be a majority supporting, so we cannot conclude that the majority of voters supported an increase in library